too deep into that. All right. So, all right. So we're officially recording now, guys. So just a quick recap. Gemini is the first. Third house is the first air house, the first social interaction house, the first house we deal with relationship activity through close home environments, neighbors, siblings, distant relatives, cousins. All right, based off of their mentalities, can influence how we communicate and relate with people out in the world. This house is this house develops a lot of curiosity because this is our first experiences interacting with others, especially when we're in our neighborhood, especially when it's early education. Once again, middle school, high school. I like to say this house caps off with education when you get into college. And after that, it's more ninth house influence. This is part of why Gemini is so curious and observational, because these are the new cues we're picking up interacting with our surroundings. This house modality is flexible. I mean, this house modality is mutable, which is very flexible. So this is why when we get into the third house for our first circumstances and experience, we start developing friends and learning our neighbors' habits and traditions and cultures, and then we go into school. We're open, we're mutable, we're flexible around how other people think, because we're trying to understand how we going to be communicating and interacting. Okay. Spent most of my time in the ninth, finding my belief system, just now seeing the power of opening up and nurturing my community. Aquarius moon. Every time I take middle school, people say I was weird and it hurt my feelings. Oh yeah, so you got that mixture, you got that Aquarius energy, and you got Cancer in the third house. You got that sensitivity where Cancer is at. So it could be a lot of pride and loyalty that is embraced when we have like Cancer and the moon energy around the third house. But if you have those influences that deal with your uniqueness or individuality having to be related in a challenging way, then that could create some circumstances there. So I definitely see that, bro. All right. So those are the traits of the third house. All right. First, relationship, social house is important to understand. This house connects to the other air houses, but we're going to cover that during the relationship of the houses. All right. Gemini is naturally birthed out this house. So now let's go through elements in this house. Let's go through the elements of your third house. Let's start with air. Let's start with the home element, air. All right. If you got air in this house, you are a fire rising. All right. If you got air in this house, you're a fire rising. Okay. Now, air in this house is going to bring a highly interactive goddamn third house. It don't matter what air sign is in here. This house is already dealing with interaction. So you throw air in there. Now, this person is going to be dealing with so much remember, the air sign, it may not be Gemini, it may be another air sign, a Libra, Aquarius. That's not home here, but it's air. So that alone brings the compatibility of the house, right? It's an air house, I'm an air sign, different modality, different ruler, but I could find compatibility in this house, being here. So understand, with this house already being air and air coming here, this house can have so much goddamn interaction, and it starts to heavily impact how this person takes their third house out into the world, because they may be heavily attached, to certain experience with other people's mentalities, because they're going to be very observational here about how other people communicate and think about things. Air in the third house is going to be quick to understand, why people in its environment even think a certain way as well, too. All right. So air in the third house could realize, damn, I grew up in the ghetto. This is how they treat the ghetto. This is the support they get in the ghetto. This, that, and third. I see why people from where I'm from be getting into this type of activity. This, that, third. They're gonna have more of a logical, more of a logical outlook on things dealing with their surroundings. All right. Now, this is not to say they're always going to be make the wisest decisions dealing with the third house. Why? Because things happen fast with air in the third house. Things happen very fast. All right. Charismatic communicators, people that's always around with air in the third house. You might grow up in an environment. It was certain people you couldn't not bump into in your neighborhood in the third house, because they're always around. There's always a sense of mingling in your third house. People this is why if you have air in the third house, sometimes you may just now be realizing, like, goddamn, sometimes to get a little privacy in my surroundings, that's a stretch. It's somebody always knocking on my door. It's somebody always trying to borrow some ketchup. Somebody wants something. with air in the third house. So yes, this brings an influence of one having more potential to have a logical outlook here, but it deals with a lot of interaction and could deal with a lot of transformation and different experiences based off this person's discernment, intuition on how they observe other people's minds, making them want to do things with others here. All right, to a degree. Now you got fire in this house. I got fire. I got Aries in this house. When you got fire in your third house, this is another air and fire. These are the masculine elements, guys. All right, these are the masculine elements. So they're going to influence more projection in this area. So having air here, you're already going to be influenced this day. I don't know how I did not say this. When you have air in the third house, see, the third house is a house where we develop communication methods, but we're doing a lot of observing though. Now, when you have air here, you're going to manifest way more experiences at times to be more center stage for your ideals at a young age or whatnot in your surroundings, or embracing a community, you being the communicator, the messenger in your third house a lot of the time. All right. Now, when you got fire in here, you can manifest your third house having a fast-paced temperament, like a lot of activity, a lot going on. It could be a lot of natural opportunities you ran into in your early childhood, being able to find people in your space who relate to your creative influences. So if you grew up being a rapper, if you have Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius in your third house, you most likely got your rap clique that you came up with, because you most likely, that fire created a bond where you was able to find people in your third house, and in some type of way y'all shared the same fire, the same vision, the same awareness, and that created the relationship. And this may thread into different creative relationships in different areas, but it stems from your third house fire here, already having a creative influence here. We know fire, is already going to naturally deal with vision, creative energy, but it's very futuristic as well too. So, when you have those, a lot of people, you hear them say, yeah, me and my bro and my cousin, we had this vision since we was young. This is my bro, my sister, my cousin, or blood couldn't make us thicker. We've been best friends for this long. And then this, that, and the third. Don't be surprised if you feel me, there air rising. You feel me? They caught a little creative fire rising pack in the third house. And then from there, it stemmed into other houses. All right. So you got that influence of fire here. Now here, it can have the same influence of charismatic, exciting communicators or whatnot, or thrilling situations cause chaos here. All right, y'all got to remember this. This is not the 7th or 11th house, guys. We don't have that much experience with relationship activity yet. This is the first place. So who knows? This person telling us to drink alcohol for the first time. Our cousin, my cousin that I don't really know, that I'm just meeting for the first time. This nigga is an alcoholic. He telling me to drink alcohol. I am 11 years old. I don't know if that shit is right or wrong. I don't know. How much experience did I have? You feel me? I don't know. So our discernment is this is the first area here. This is why this house deals with so much. This is why Geminis deal with mad peer pressure, or they be the niggas peer pressuring other people. This is why Geminis have such a persuasive influence. Geminis could talk the draws off people. Gemini could talk people into participating into things. Gemini could talk you out of things. All right. The sense of persuasion is influence in our third house, guys. We see people drinking, doing this. We see people dealing with something creatively. We see people dealing with crime. We see the people that's students trying to excel with education. We seeing our siblings getting into different things. All right. So it's a lot going on, and we build a lot of our discernment with human interaction in the third house. So when you got fire here, all right, there's going to be a lot of people striving for things that they're trying to create. Right. So depending on how you pick up that excitement, that vision, that thrill, is what manipulates a lot of relationships here. And it could be a lot of, once again, fire in this house, especially if you got planets here. You can manifest a lot of center stage situations in your third house. All right. Whether that's going to be popularity, being known in your surroundings, shit. That's not always, sometimes that could create trauma. When I was young, I ain't have it like that. I ain't really start becoming presentable with my clothing until like early high school. So shit, coming to school, the new J's and all that, I ain't had that. So I had to deal with being center stage for not having it. So that's when I had to get my joke game up. That's when my joke game got crazy. All right, I had to defend myself, y'all. So you could be center stage for things in your third house. You may be you may have a gift, a talent, some type of past life inclination in this house, but fire is making you center stage for it. But let's say it's something you also struggle with expressing, being seen for. This could be the first experience where that insecurity developed because you was at a young age, you was being forced to display something. And you, for whatever reason, like a support, however, whatever the case may be, you know, you didn't do it. But that intuitive sense of knowing that you was called to do something carries out in your life. So you got all these different type of influence that manifest here with fire being here from a center stage perspective, from you having to be forced to express yourself perspective, the push out, the projection, masculine element, feminine, water and earth, water in the third house, water in the third house. Now we know the feminine elements are the receivers, right? So before they push out, there's natural for them to receive, understand, observe, internalize. So when you got water in the third house, these are my what? Earth risings. These are earth risings. Okay. Now, once again, they're gonna be more receptive, observational. Depending on other alignments, it's natural for them to kind of see the results of how things manifest in other people's life from their actions before they participate into it. The thing about water in the third house is once they get connected into something in their third house, whether they start dealing with the gangsters, whether they start hanging with the good kids in school, whether they start hanging with the emo kids, whether they drop out, whatever they get, whether they start finding their creative pack here, there's such a sense of connection that's developed here. So depending on that relationship, see, fire and air can let things go quick. Fire and air could go through some transformative shit in this house, get into their seventh house, be like, yeah, my childhood was rough, there's a lot of shit going on. When you got water here, is a different concept here. If water develops a tight-knitted bond in its adolescent stages, it holds on to that. It wants to nurture that. So let's say that first time, you know, let's even say you fell in love early in life. It was motherfucking, I don't know, late 8th grade or some shit, 9th grade or some shit. All right. I don't know how realistic that could be, but you know, twin flame soulmate situations be real. So let's say you just had a very impactful relationship like high school or whatnot, right? You dated somebody from like 7th grade all the way to 12th grade to the point y'all just about to make a decision on going to school together, college together. With water in the third house, let's say something happens, she cheat on me, something happens, right? She moves or whatnot. This person has to have the spiritual strength to make sure they could continue to build bonds with people, because what was close to home didn't play out, you know, the result of that connection didn't play out in the way they wanted it to, you know, or didn't see the potential of it. That could really disturb how this person makes connections. Connection is a key word with water. Connection is a key word with air. All right. So this is something water in the third house got to understand here. Water in the third house can hold a very tight bond to their third house, even if it's draining them. Right. That sense of brother ER just say you got cancer in the third house. So he may have an example of, you know, times he probably wanted to expand outside of his surroundings, tradition, culture. All right. Third house has a lot to do with your early exposure to traditions, cultures. Okay. So if you got water here, you may have such a tight-knitted connection to that, loyalty to that, and then it start manifesting certain experiences that want you to kind of expand beyond your third house, and your sense of obligation here can start to become a challenge. That's important to understand with water in the third house. It's important to understand, because you may bring a sense of emotional, mental, or stability in general into this area. Be careful of having boundaries in the third house, knowing when to apply boundaries here. Okay, water in the third house people can experience, you know, narcissism manipulators at an early age, because water is dealing with the internalization of things. But you put that in a social house, so now you get to see experiences of people communicating things to strike an emotion, to strike whether that emotion is going to make somebody do something, be a part of something, persuade them. But you see that sense of people intentionally trying to communicate in order to strike the subconscious to influence something, you know, whether maybe, you know, you see a group of people in your third house and they're influencing other kids to be a part of a gang or something, and you're seeing that, like, you're seeing the guy doing it is like a big bully, and he's just creating a bunch of little soldiers under him, and it's all wrong. These niggas ain't really about that life, and he's being power controlling. Cancer and water in the third house may have a sense of wanting to, you know, defend the, you know, the negative energy going on in the third house environment. You know, they may have a real strong sense of sensitivity when it comes into the third house to a degree, because they connected maybe to there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of loyalty towards honoring the third house in general. Where I'm from, they could be very prideful about where they're from here too. All right, so and water in the third house, their ideologies, they could start to build a lot of ideologies and concepts in life around things dealing with the subconscious, healing, understanding how environments affect the subconscious, right? So how environmental influences can affect people's lives in the long run, from how it affects their subconscious. Like they like getting into some of those things, especially if they have like planets here, especially got like a Mercury here or whatnot. They're gonna be very intrigued on understanding how the projects in this community is set up like this. So there's no way for them to, they create this depression out of this, they create this, that, and third out of this, then they take that out into the world. So they're seeing how surroundings make people internalize different things that create certain actions and expressions and take that onto the world. So, water in the third house kind of get a little deep there, as you can see. All right. So we got that going on. And then we got Earth. Then we got Earth in the third house. So you're going to experience early a lot of things dealing with project building in your surroundings, learning what it is to be a part of a group and have a role and structure, organize something in it. You may have someone of a strict surrounding growing up now too. That's another thing about Earth in the third house. Curfew, making up your bed, cleaning your room. It may most likely 8 out of 10 times there was a strong influence of that. But and even depending on the placements, it may have went overboard at times. You may have even been restricted, especially you got like Capricorn in here. You may have been like restricted to go enjoy a birthday party going on in the fucking park across the street that your parents could see outside the window. But they're like, nope, you got to do this, that, and third. You got a format, you got a structure, you ain't got time for that. You got time for this. All right. So a lot of that were Earth in the third house. All right. Stability may have been exposed to you, at a young age here now with Earth in the third house. Whether you've seen the kids that dropped out of school, making money doing something. Whether you realize, the kid that is making burnt CD playlists for everybody in school, when you start realizing how much he really making from the CD, selling CDs here, right? It may be a form of project building that manifests in your third house that carries out into life with Earth here. Maybe something that you wanted to build for your community, your neighborhood, and that could turn into some form of foundation, that form of a resource that extends beyond your third house. But yeah, that sense of being exposed to stability early, may have a distant relative or cousin that has manifested stability in their life, and they could play out as an example for you here. Like, okay, so you go to college, so okay, you have to have a major. You realize you know about majors in third grade. This is that Earth. This is really that Earth in the third house shit. You exposed to the siblings, something. They got some type of stability going on in their life, and that's giving you some type of map out on what you should be valuing, what you should be working on, what you should be striving for, how you could blueprint manage something dealing with stability in your life. All right. So yeah, that sense of strict order like fashion in this house may have went overboard, especially depending on placements you have in this house. So if you got Mars in this house in the Earth sign, you got Mars squaring, Pluto squaring, opposing this house. You got like planets like that and shit. All right. It's definitely gonna be an influence of that. And I feel like you also see the influence of some type of shape or form with Earth in the third house. You're going to see an influence of instability as well. You're going to see both. You're going to see how things manifest. It could be stories exchanged with your best friend about their older sibling, their family member, something they're doing to make money, something. So these are things that could be influenced early with Earth in the third house. So Earth get into you got a lot of Earth in the third house people. Who's this again? These is water rising. This is why a lot of water risings worked at a young age. They already know about summer youth camp working. They got their working license when they 15, 16. They working at a young age. They know about extra sense of responsibility in a home environment. This area also needs boundaries. So, when you look at this space, the feminine signs, the feminine elements, water, I mean, the third house needs boundaries in general. You have to go on YouTube right now and look at every sign through this house series that I did. We all going to need a sense of boundaries in our third house. We can't be interacting and participating in every single thing going on in our surroundings, because everything in our surroundings ain't positive. All right. Just like everything in our surroundings ain't negative. All right. It's going to be a balance everywhere. So, regardless of what we're exposed to, this is why Mercury's home here. This is why Mercury's home here, family, because we need to have a sense of critical analysis about our surroundings. We only imitate and implement the things that surround us, the people closest to us, right? The mentalities of the mind closest to us. This is our first experience of this, all right? So that's what we got going on with the elements through the houses, guys. Now, planetary influences over the houses. Let's start with the sun in Leo. The sun in Leo in the third house. This is Gemini risings. The sun in Leo in the third house, center stage. This is where you're center staged at in life. And this is part of your purpose. You're here to be center stage for your ideologies, the things that the things that may have developed as into familiar traits and habits from your surroundings. A lot of people here can become the awareness, the face, the poster child for something going on in their surroundings, right? So let's say, you're from an environment that created a certain dance style. Right? Let's say you're from the Bronx, New York and whatnot. You began sturdy, now you may not have created getting sturdy. Now the sun is dealing with creating and birthing. So you could play the creator role here, and you could play the role of the person that made it popular to places outside of your neighborhood, right? So now you made it so popular, people think you're the one that created it. So this is Sun Leo in the third house. You're getting center stage for third house influences. Your own ideologies, traditions, and cultures you're familiar with. Either you're creating it and making it an impact and influential in your surroundings, which could expand beyond your surroundings, or you could be the poster child, or you're the one here to learn how to be the face and a representation for something going on in the third house. Don't get surprised when you see a local activist having the sun in the third house, or their Gemini rising. And their especially Gemini dealing with the surroundings. Gemini rising is with the sun, a Gemini rising Leo sun in the third house. They're definitely going to be an expression, a super product of their environment, whether their environment is full of drugs and crime and they're so prideful about changing that, it's worn on their expression, all right? Or whether there's the opposite in that mug. They grew up in such a crime-infested area, whatnot. Y'all know I'm from the ghetto, y'all. So I just got to use. I'm from the Bronx. I got to use this, just make it relatable. They don't call me a hood guru for nothing. But let's say this could be a popular gangster. It might be a gangster that we know, like motherfucking somebody in the mob or something that's popular, and they got the sun in the third house. So they grew up in a crime mob family. And they don't one that made it popular. They don't one that got that family known in some type of way. All right. So that sun and being center stage, and remember, if you have Leo here, this placement is already connected to your sun. So if you're a Gemini rising, you're already, regardless of where your sun is at, you're already going to be seen and be an expression of, your Leo house, which is your surroundings. So we want to make sure if you have this placement, you're more so being the positive representation or the positive change, all right? And you're continuously identifying how your third house is attached to your self-identity and your self-expression, how we see you in the world, all right? Now, so we got, so the center stage, that sense of pridefulness, expression. So that's what we got here. Moon in Cancer, the moon in Cancer in the second house. All right. So just know, even if the moon is not in this house and you got Cancer here, it's going to be connected to the house your moon is in. Right. So whatever house your moon is in, right, is going to bring that to this house. Now, when you got Cancer in the third house, Cancer deals with intimate, private, tight-knitted, loyal connections. Right. It's no gray area. So when you have Cancer and the moon in the third house, you're going to develop situations in your surroundings, in your environment where, people don't even be known what be going on in your third house. You could be having private functions, all different type of parties, Monday through Sunday in your third house. We don't know. It's Cancer in your third house. It's going to be a mystique, a privacy to your third house. We may not even know things about your culture, tradition, upbringing. So this somebody that get popular right now, artist, this, that, and the third. We might start thinking that artist, a celebrity, a plant, a industry plant, because we can't find no research about their upbringing. They got cancer. They got cancer. So things that's in the third house, they're very close to home. These people are not so big on just, they're not like the most open making friends. All right. Now, not saying these can't be very relatable, like good people, good spirited people. Is just that to really consider something being a bond, a friendship, like I said, it's no gray area. Is Cancer, right? Cancer's heart is 100% or not in it, right? The moon is 100% in it or not, right? It's either bringing fulfillment or is not. So their friendships it'd be like family damn near when you got Cancer in this house, especially the third house already dealing with family to a degree. It's already an extension of family, dealing with siblings, relatives. So you got Cancer in the third house, you feel me? They're gonna be warm-hearted people when they make interactions, but to really lock in on something, making a true connection, a true relationship, building, calling something a true friendship, that means a lot to these people. These Taurus risings. This is Taurus risings, y'all. We already associate Taurus as being one of the more loyal signs. They have a fixed personality. They don't like things in their personal life changing when they have a sense of stability and they realize what works for them personally. So when it comes into the third house, Cancer here is on guard. It's very warm-hearted with connections. It's a giver in connections. It's a nurturer, is a stabilizer within its environment. Even if it's a gang leader and it's causing a bunch of chaos, it's the gang leaders look up to this nigga for stability. For guidance. What we gonna do now, boss? Who we gonna rob now? We wanted. Where we gonna hide now? It's cardinal. So is a sense of leadership energy that come here, right? So good sister Ebony in the building. That's my sis. It's easier to make friends with people with Cancer third house placements for me with Cancer in the third, the Godfather. Yep. So there's just a high level of discernment that goes into creating bonds and interacting with people in the third house. May have been a lot of family activity going on in your third house. You may have been known for things dealing with your family. So as soon as you went to school, people knew you for your older sister, your older brother. Your teachers knew you because your parents went to that school. Oh my God, you borrow? Get out of town. I taught your mother. You might got a little bit of that Cancer in the third house to a degree, right? Having that family-oriented motherly influence already being connected here. You get out into the world. You start playing a certain sport, your older sibling known in the neighborhood for being a popular gangster or something. So you may already have influences of your home family lineage being extended out into your third house to a degree. All right. So we got that going on. Now, Mercury influencing the third house. So this is Virgos, Gemini, and Mercury in the third house. Now, Gemini's home here, Mercury's home here. All right, Virgo's a square here. But critical analysis. So these people are very inclined here when it comes into observing their third house and having more potential to others to realize how they became how they have became a product of their environment. From a positive and negative perspective, these people are going to most likely be very be inclined, being able to articulate themselves. All right, very versatile communicators here. Having this Mercury-like influence over the third house, but being critiqued at a young age ain't gonna be nothing foreign to them. All right, when it comes into their grades, when it comes into their performance or extracurricular activities, these things get a high form of criticism here. All right, these people, because they're so observational and curious about their surroundings, that can lead into them participating into a whole lot of things here. With great power come great responsibility. So yes, Mercury is a home influence here, but it got an eye for everything. It is able to identify damn near every facet of its surroundings. So hopefully that sense of curiosity doesn't lead to this person sometimes doing a little bit too much in their surroundings based off of the thoughts of others or what's going on in their surroundings. All right. You can really embrace you can really manifest opportunities to be somewhat of a messenger and being able to relate news either about your surroundings or within your surroundings a lot of the time with this placement. You could kind of be like the talk of the town person, everybody trying to figure out where the party at this weekend. Like, hit Boro up, yeah. Mercury in the third house could spread all right, here's a link to a private party. Send us a private link. Like, you might manifest situations like that. You kind of you made your third house flow a little bit. You was highly interconnected with your third house to a degree. All right. But yeah, that sense of criticism over, like, let's say you was an athlete, or that your mind, right? Mercury, your mind. So things dealing with how smart you are, especially that might have been compared. You might have been in a little situation. It might have been a little unfair, even damn near traumatic to an experience, but being a little bit overly compared to your cousins or siblings about something, especially dealing with grades or school or whatnot, that could be common here for sure with Mercury and Gemini here, especially if you have Mercury and Gemini here. All right. But yes, also embracing communication through your third house. Third house people could be very like I said, that messenger influence. They could take a lot of what's going on in the third house, almost similar to the sun here, and make themes about what's familiar to them, familiar habits or traits, things that they've experienced, learned, known growing up, or about their surroundings, their neighborhood. And they could really be a messenger of that in different ways out in the world. All right. Shout out to my good sister Randy in the building. Good knowing sister right there. All right. So we got that going on with Mercury, Gemini, Virgo influencing the third. All right. Remember, highly analytical here. These people can create, especially it got more. Got Mercury in this area. Just Mercury by itself in this area, having Mercury influence is one thing, but you got like Mercury in here, and it's harmonizing with other planets in the sextile or trine. These people can really create opportunities of being, seen as the one that could critically break down things or certain concepts for things that are third house, or whatever that sign is in the third house, or whatever sign that your third house is in, going to be something a lot about. You got Mercury in it. Well, excuse me, I said whatever sign. It's going to be Gemini or Virgo, but if it's Mercury and Gemini, things about relationship activity in the third house, right? Or if it's Virgo, things about how the resources, stability, the reality of your third house. Okay, so we got that going on there. Then we have, moving on, Venus in the third house, guys. Venus in the third house, Libra, Taurus in the third house. All right, Libra, Taurus, Venus in the third house. Now you got this type of placement is likely in some type of shape or form. You found your first love in your third house. Whether your first love was basketball, whether your first love was a twin flame, whether your first love was being exalted for having good grades, a sense of value was found in this third house. And anything in the third house becomes critically analyzed. Don't forget that, guys. I know we just came off Mercury, Gemini, and Virgo. That brings a higher sense of inclination of being able to observe the surroundings from a critical analysis point of view. But this house itself is dealing with critical analysis, family. So anything that comes into this house has that, whether we're analyzing it through our surroundings or that energy gets criticized by others, right? So when we're looking at Venus here, there has to be the discernment of what to value is a strong theme in this house, is a strong theme in this area. You got Venus in the third house, you will be placed in situations where your intuition is going to have to lead you on decision-making, on participating in things that you see people valuing in your third house, right? So you may have a sibling, older sibling, you in elementary school, you in early middle school, but you got a sibling in 11th, 12th grade, and they be smoking weed. They be doing whatever. That ain't really your thing. But then Venus in the third house, your value system, you still get anywhere Venus is at, you have to learn what to appreciate and how to value this area and give this area value and see the value in it. So you may still manifest your peers getting into certain things that you've already been exposed to, that you're probably like, you know what, my brother he's in the 12th grade, he's barely graduating, he's smoking drink. Maybe that's not something I want to do. But then when your peers get into it, now you're being challenged to see how you align your values amongst your peers, peer pressure. Venus deals with pleasures. So things dealing with pleasures get accessed quick amongst your surroundings. You're trying to lose weight. You're trying to regiment this, that, and the third. Your homegirl, your neighbor, your roommate. Yo, I just brought these cupcakes from work, some Krispy Kremes. If you want to go ahead, you can take all of them. I'm good. So your pleasures and what's of value is always being magnified in this area, and it could be magnified through people, through your relationships, your mating preferences here. Mating preferences, a lot of times with Venus in the third house, can have a huge influence on wanting to share values from the home environment. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating, trying to connect with somebody, Venus in the third house, and you can't really connect or relate things from your environment, your surroundings, or whatnot. All right. I remember one time, man, let me not bring this example up. But anyways, no, actually, this is a good example, but I don't have this placement. That's why I was about to not bring it up. But I remember I went to Iowa State for my freshman year at college, guys. Yeah, a lot of y'all may not play basketball. I went to Iowa State. I am from the Bronx, New York. You feel me? I woke up at Iowa State every morning. There's corn stalks where I look out the window. So this is a huge shift. You feel me? But I made this decision for different reasons. But anyways, long story short, I never really interacted with white people to that degree, on a frequent degree, let alone white people. I had like Italians that went to my school in high school or whatnot, but this is Ames, Iowa. It's a whole different thing. I'm in class and some people got cowboy boots on, seriously. And I'm like, oh shit, damn, this is really different. Like, it's a real culture. Damn, I've been in the Bronx. I remember one time I was dating this chick. I really liked her, but we had so much not in common when it comes into our upbringing, our cultures, traditions. It's movies I love to watch. I grew up on like Friday. It was so foreign to her. She didn't understand things. So Venus in the third house could deal with the frustration, not being able to have that value system or things from the familiar environment, being able to be connected. It kind of needs to be there. That's why a lot of times Venus in the third house manifests love here. That's why a lot of them bump into their soulmate in third house environments and things that they're already familiar with, in their actual surroundings, in their neighborhood. This is why, once again, that activity for significant ass relationships at a young age, but they were for real though. It's like you dated this person from 6th grade to freshman year of college. Like that's, regardless of that being a young relationship, that is mad impactful. That is a significant ass, like y'all was doing a whole bunch of reconnecting from the past life. All right. So Venus in the third house could just have a lot of those influences here, things having discernment, navigating values. These people could be influenced to deal with a lot of charity-like things in their third house, giving to their third house. If you got Libra here, this is another alignment that will intensify. Venus and Libra here will intensify that influence of access and pleasures through, your relationship activity, and not having discernment of what this activity really means at times, just diving into things, because Libra be wanting to do things other people do. So that's a huge detriment at times with Libra in the air house. Sometimes Libra is not, that's a mistake Aquarius don't make as often as Libra and Gemini make. Libra and Gemini Aquarius has way more discernment at times participating in certain things. You would think Libra would do a better job because it shares Saturn influence like Aquarius, but Aquarius is fixed. So that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing right there. That's a whole nother thing. So, Libra here got to be definitely might have dealt with some intense peer pressure situations. And then Taurus here, is this big giver energy here, is also dealing with stability though. So probably once again learning earth in here, learning how to get to the bag at an early age, but discerning how they're going to go about it through what values, how they're going to build stability through what values, seeing how other people build their stability based off the things they value and seeing if they could align with that or not. So ultimately, it's going to come down to, having your values challenged here, having your values critiqued here. All right. You may be into one of your values, may be something you're creatively into. That's going to get critiqued, and your environment may not fuck with it. Now Venus does bring love and support where it's at. So it could develop that, but it's still critiqued here. All right. It could be a natural critique. You might have alignments that take it too deep. So the natural criticism of things you naturally value, this creative endeavor, something you're building, you naturally value here. You have to be able to have some type of tough skin or resiliency dealing with any type of constructive criticism, or how it, maybe not align with values of your surroundings, because Venus is going to find a way to bring love and support here in some type of way, especially if there's something you really value here in general. And a lot of that at times can be through the cousins, through the siblings. So I will give that with the moon and Venus here. There do be them siblings, relatives you could really lean on. Like they really be there. They really, they're giving you the whole stability mojo there. It's going to be an ounce of that to a degree. You got the most transformative, alignments. You got Taurus, and if you got the moon and Venus here, you're going to be able to access that, even if it's that one sibling. But that one sibling is your everything, though. You don't really get along with your family, but this one sibling It's your everything, right? So it might be that type of situation. Okay. So that's Venus, Libra, Taurus over that third house energy. Then we got Mars in that third house, Aries, Scorpio. Okay, so I got this place. I got Aries in the third house. All right, now Mars in the third house, man. I'm gonna get right to it, man. Your ass gonna know how to fight. 8 out of 10 times you got Mars, Scorpio, Aries in the third house. You know what it feels like to get your ass whooped, and then your other sibling parent tell you, we going back to fight the nigga. And if you lose again, I'm whooping your ass. Like, this is a very relatable thing here. If you got Mars in the 8th house. I mean, Mars, Scorpio, Aries in the third house. So competition, aggression, and forcefulness has been experienced in your third house. To the detriment, sorry if this is something you guys have experienced, but things could get abusive sometimes close to home. When you start having these high temperament malefics, next to the 3rd, 4th house, next to close home environments, this is where you can start seeing a little bit of abuse in the adolescent stages of life, right? So depending on what form of abuse that may be, okay, there's going to be a sense of competition in early stages of interaction, whether it's them getting bullied, whether Mars brings opposition, guys. Mars brings opposition wherever it's at. Whether you got bullied, whether you, it may be a strong culture, tradition of competition in your family, and you grew up in an environment in it, and you ain't had no choice. You had to participate in it, and there's a competitive thing in your neighborhood or something. I don't know, like some stomp the yard shit. Everybody in your family dancing or some shit. We niggas be dancing to the death. And you got to be doing backflips and everything because of your third house. Like, this is something you got born into. Niggas be gangsters and dancing. So you have to be a part of this competition. Sorry, I couldn't come up with a better example, but y'all get the point. All right. You almost got to be you have to be a part of this fight at times. That could be something, a fight of your community and your surroundings in some type of shape or form, or simply just meeting the opposition a lot. Simply just meeting your opposition in your third house. Learning how to jumping into experiences, learning how to deal with opposition energy. We all have a Mars placement, so we're all doing it somewhere. We're all dealing with, having to fight somewhere, having to channel a little bit of warrior, goddess energy somewhere to a degree. So when you got Mars in the third house, being able to stand on, the things that you can, this placement is going to teach you to stand on, your ideologies, to stand, and really project yourself when you communicate and relate yourself to others, because it brings that sense of individuality and pride into the third house. So this is why at a young age, the sense of bullying, the sense of opposition, the sense of intensity, whether it was overwhelming or not, whether it was overboard or not, whether it was abusive or not, it kind of cultivated an environment for us to have to embrace an individual way of interacting with others. And we have to make sure with this placement, we don't become too power and controlling of others, maybe because of some power and controlling relationships we experienced at a young age, maybe as some people trying to take advantage of us in a young age, and it starts to turn into defense mechanisms, feeling like we got to be power and controlling when we interact with others. So this is a lot of that Mars temperament when it hits air houses in general. Air ain't Mars thing. Nonetheless, all right, let's get to some more positive things. This messenger right here could be the powerful, transformative, empowering messenger here. Whether they're being a messenger in their neighborhood in some type of shape or form, whether they're ones being the spokesperson about something going on in their surroundings, this person is going to be most likely a bit more unfiltered. All right, more unfiltered, a little bit more blunt with their communication. I can see how I communicate. I'm an Aries in the third house. I was always a blunt communicator like this. Kind of, yes, to a degree, but I'm sure there was a more polite side of me before I started to get into some more opposition energy in my environment, because I was bullied. I was bullied growing up. All right, when I say bullied, like I don't know what it's like. There's variations to bullying here. All right, so it's like, it wasn't necessarily getting stuffed in my locker, but it was bullying. Like there was niggas trying to take advantage of me, and I had to defend myself. All right, so it's like there's gonna be some of that here. There's gonna be some of that here with Mars there, and you have to make sure you're still aware about your passion, your extreme influence you give off when communicating your ideologies, and still coming off relatable, allowing yourself to still be relatable. Mars could be so passionate and locked in and prideful about a certain thing, experience, or a pattern of experiences in this house that it has an intensity when it communicates, whether it's a hostile intensity, whether it's an off-putting intensity when this person communicates, or whether it's an empowering one. So having these influences around this area, you got to be aware of how your experiences have molded how you go about the interactions with this Mars-like energy, because you'll be very empowering on a daily basis with this placement. On a daily basis, okay? This placement most of the time is very direct and blunt when it comes into pointing out things with people surrounding them too. So this is the cousin, the friend, the sibling that you're a little annoyed with because they kind of don't let you slack on your game when they're around you in a way. Like there's a sense of, Saturn in this house could give that as well too. But as far as Mars being very goal oriented, kind of being direct, to a degree, they may have that with their demeanor when they communicate, relate, or whatnot. But yeah, so that's what we got going on there. It can maybe come off a little insensitive from time to time, Mars in the third. May come off a little insensitive the way they communicate about things from time to time, so we got that going on there. And I'm sorry, last one, maybe a little bit of a sore loser when it comes to like debates and arguments. Now that I really think about it, yeah, Mars in third house could struggle with that a little bit. Aries, Scorpio in third house could struggle with that shit a little bit, allowing themselves to evolve, but from an opposition way, not a personal intention way. You evolve because you lost a debate argument, and now you can learn something new and transform. But no, you don't want to transform that way. You don't like that you lost that debate. You're too prideful about what you thought you knew. All right, Mars in the third. So we got that going on there now. Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Pisces, Sagittarius, Jupiter influencing the third house. Now, this placement is especially the Sagittarius and Jupiter aspect. It can still play out with Pisces here, but with Sagittarius and Jupiter here, it's known to be one of the more common placements to show that you moved around a lot in your your adolescent stages, early childhood, right? Because, you have that opposite energy Sagittarius here. Sagittarius dealing with long distance energy. Third house is more local. It's more, it's local, community based. Jupiter dealing with expansion. So when you have these influences here, yeah, you may have moved a lot. You may not have got in touch with your third house to the degree that like you live here, but you probably go to boarding school, this, that, and the third. So like, people in your environment, but you don't be really interacting with them. You go to prep school, you live, you be really living with your cousins a lot. You stay with your cousins all the time. So you actually know more people where your cousins live at than where you actually live at, where your mail come, like things like that, where your parents, your guardians are at. So there's going to be a sense of expansion beyond the third house. This person's third house could become a number of places having Jupiter here. Sometimes this person may, a lot of this person's spiritual development in this experience comes from them having discernment or learning from times they participated in something that came off as a thrill or an adventure in their third house, and it was transformative. Vice versa. This person can have a whole expanded outlook on the world based off of them experiencing if I grew up in the Bronx, New York from age 1 all the way to 18, never left the Bronx, New York, and then somebody else from age 1 to 18 studied abroad, lived in the Bronx, New York, lived in California, did a little bit of activity, charity work in their teenage years in this country, this, that, and the third. Their outlook on the world is vastly different from mine, and is most likely more expanded. I didn't expand my third house environment like that. Now, when you got Jupiter and these energies here, this is why you can develop early philosophers in life. Or let me not say early philosophers, but the sense of philosophy can develop early in life here because you're exposed to so much different cultures, traditions in some type of shape or form. Even here with this placement, let's say you didn't have that much movement in your local surroundings. I bet you manifest a situation where your best friend was a whole nother cultural tradition. A close friend was a whole nother cultural tradition. You start going over to their house, eating and shit, having fun. Their parents is like, oh, you want to stay for dinner? You want to stay for whatever this, that, there? You eating all different type. They got you eating pad thai. You like, God damn, I ain't never had pad thai in the hood. How you make this? See if my mom can whip this up with some fried chicken next week. Make me have a party. All right. That's Jupiter in this third. Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces in this third. This is why the sense of philosophy, spiritual inclination, this, that, and the third. You getting exposed to so much of the world, different concepts beyond your third house to a degree. This could manifest into some type of trauma sometimes, because your sense of identity at times could start clashing with this, where you feel like you're from, if that means that much to you, depending on certain alignments. All right. Because Jupiter is really going to just take, most of the time, Jupiter is going to just look at it like, I don't have to have that much. Remember, Jupiter is more above and philosophical and beyond things. So Jupiter can detach itself from things dealing with ego, y'all. Things dealing with ego and pride. Jupiter can kind of detach itself from those type of things quicker than other planets, or more of the inner planets. So that shouldn't be that bad of a case here. That would be another alignment, making somebody deal with actually more self-identity issues. But that's what happens here. Jupiter influences in this house has such a power to give such a spread towards their awareness about things from a teacher education like perspective. This is another placement that the auntie and uncle, grandparent, family member of a close friend may have enlightened you to things at an early age from a spiritual perspective with this placement. All right. You can be the one that brings expansion to something of your third house as well here too. All right. So let's say there's a form of dancing that's popular, or there's a form of music that's popular, and you reignited it, right? So you from DC, and go-go music is popping in DC, right? It's been popping. That's been their thing for the longest. And then you came out, but you brought a new spark to go-go music, and now it's even touching, is reigniting the whole way people look at the culture, Jupiter, the culture, the tradition around go-go music and DC culture in general. So you can embrace a lot of these opportunities as well, especially depending on more alignments you may have dealing with this energy. All right, with your third house. So that's Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces in the third house. You may be seen as more philosophical, wise one in your third house as well. It could be very white and black here too. So Jupiter, Pisces, Sagittarius in third house could be seen as the reckless one in the family. It could be seen as definitely the reckless one in the family, the rebellious, unstable one. Or it could be seen as the mature, wise one. Now, the rebellious and recklessness is not just from being a natural rebel. It's going to come from Jupiter always bringing these different forms of experience and episodes. Wherever Jupiter and Sagittarius and Pisces are, it has Jupiter energy here. So it could bring a lot of episodes, miscellaneous things, random experiences. It's always trying to expand. And within expansion is different people, places, and things and occurrences. So when you have this energy in your third house, like I said, peer pressure, diving into certain thrills and adventures in your third house, maybe without discernment at a young age, this and the third, it could create reckless activity. You may not look at it reckless. You may not look at it as unstable, especially when you in your third house stage of life and you don't have as much responsibility as being in your sixth house stage of life. All right. So ain't paying no bills. I could afford to be a little reckless right now. Let me try this little gang member thing out. Let me see how this goes. All right. So Jupiter in the third house got to be careful how they uphold the belief systems of their surroundings. All right. Because if it does really inhibit and embrace the belief system and the culture tradition of the surroundings, right? They could heavily expand that, but they got to make sure they understand how those beliefs are impacting them personally before they go be a messenger or martyr about anything. All right. Saturn in these houses. Saturn influencing the third house. This is Capricorn, Aquarius in the third house, Saturn in the third house. It may most likely may have been a form of restriction in this area, priority, responsibility, obligations. You learned that early. You learned that early. You may have punctuality and all of that may have been a strong emphasized theme in your third house. You may have seen your siblings or your parents in some type of shape or form be very, ironed into the T to a degree, and that may have been imposed on you with Saturn in the third house. But that level of strict activity may have been a little OD at times, a little overwhelming or overboard, right? Not being able to go enjoy the birthday party across the street that my parents can see me across the street in the park through the window, but I gotta go clean my room, or I gotta go motherfucking, I don't know, sweep the leaves in the backyard with my brother or something. Like, damn. What's all this? Saturn could be a little harsh at times. So your third house might have been a little harsh. That's just the reality. Key word, Saturn. Reality. Lord have mercy, Saturn. I'm trying to work with you. I'm only trying to make you seem crazy like the bad guy all the time. But damn, you is a harsh brother. All right. So Saturn third house is going to bring a harsh activity here. You got Aquarius in this third house. There's going to be a lot of influences of you having to learn not to participate in all the relationships and the different things you see people into, because Aquarius is influencing more the sense of individuality here. So you're going to be challenged with that a lot. Capricorn in the third house is also learning how to make sure when it is going about building, structuring things, or when it has to be able to relate its responsibilities and priorities to what everybody else got going on in the third house, right? So let's say you got Capricorn in the third house. Your father's a basketball player. You, ever since a kid, you want to be a basketball player, emulate your father. You've been a hard worker. He's been your number one coach and everything. He's been the coach in all your basketball teams. You got Capricorn in the third house. You have to understand you got this goal to be a Division I basketball player, maybe go to the NBA, do this, that, and the third. Your regiment, your program, you have to see what you need to place restrictions on Saturn in your surroundings to support what you're building, what you're structuring here. So that's going to be a huge influence with Saturn in here in general. How do you place restrictions on your surroundings, right? How do you discipline your surroundings to support what you're building and stabilizing in your life in general? All right. My third house ruler is in Aquarius. I was conditioned to be straight edge and not associated with people who got in trouble, like paid off in a huge, like, look, your parents probably did not play that, ER. You got Saturn in the third house. Your parents was like, yo, listen, this is you in sixth grade. It's now you walking the school game, dropping you off no more. I better not ever hear that you're mingling with the people on that corner over there across the street, or I better not. This Saturn in the third house, that sense of, being uniform, like with your movement amongst your surroundings, got emphasized, whether you participated in something and realized, oh yeah, this ain't for me, and this could lead into that, or it was around your, sibling, family, home oriented environment. My Aquarius moon is in the first two. I've got my career set up. My mom was literally a teacher at the trade school I grew up in. More moon energy. So, oh yeah, right. You got the Cancer. See, you see, you are. Look how you just ding, 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 making them connections. But there you go. That's Saturn in that goddamn third house. You meet these people, and they have more of a uniform, formatted way of dealing with interactions and friendships, and it seems like they're a little bit of transactional at times. Yeah, I interviewed them about their environment, and you probably see why they have more of a straightforward, to a degree transactional, but very practical, a way of interacting with others, building with people, probably a more of a punctual way of relating with people to stand a third, regardless if they're not able to embrace and apply that in some type of way, then they could deal with a lot of transformative things or unstable situations amongst relationships. All right. 1 second. I just want to fill up my water real quick. 1 second. All right. So yeah, we're closing up with Saturn. Yep. One sec, family. Okay. So yes, we got that sense of strict obligation, priority, like energy here, uniform like, and that's how that may, transpire into other interactive spaces. Okay. You might have to tell Saturn who is this, who's rising again. But it's Pisces risings. It's Pisces risings. Capricorn in the third house, Aries risings, Aquarius in the third. All right, it's two different vast personalities. So yes.